license number FRA2. Limitations apply. Offer expires 2/4/12. Reserve tickets in advance. It's rolling.
Welcome back to Inside Detroit with Mildred Gaddis on AM 1200 WCHB NewsDetroit.com.
Some people are saying that if Newt Gingrich wins tonight, the people at the White House will be very happy and satisfied. What's your view on that? Do you think a win for Newt Gingrich is is bad for the Republican Party?
Well, I don't know whether I don't know whether I'm going to let you put those words right into my mouth, but I think he's going to have a difficult time. No kidding. But I think any Republican would have a difficult time. That's why I was offering my services, because I think that, and I think there's been some polls out. I don't know exactly which company did it, but there was a poll out that said that Paul against Obama does pretty darn well, essentially in a tie. It did as well as Romney has done. So I would say that the other Republicans cannot appeal to civil libertarians and to those Democratic base who are sick and tired of Obama's with his foreign policy. And of course, the Republicans ought to have a strong appeal to me, because I'm really the only fiscal conservative offering to cut the budget by $1 trillion.
So clearly, he is still campaigning there. Ron Paul obviously showing no signs of wanting to get out of the race, telling me that he's going to start looking at states that award their delegates to the GOP National Convention by percentage, also going to states that have caucuses where he can use an organization to try to get more delegates, because he says that is the name of the game. Ron Paul showing absolutely no signs of getting out. The other thing I'm hearing from him is that he plans to buy television ads in states where there are, for example, caucuses, and not so much in states where there are primaries, such as Florida. So not buying ads in primaries, still going there for debates, mainly focusing on caucus states and states where he thinks he can pick up a percentage of delegates. Anderson?
Joe, thanks very much, Ron Paul.
And of course, that was Ron Paul. On the line with me this morning here in Michigan, here in Detroit, is David Dudenhofer, Ron Paul's campaign manager here in the area. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Ms. Gaddis. I have to clear up something, though. I'm definitely a supporter and a volunteer, but not a paid staffer. I'm doing this on my own time.
Got it. David, coming out of South Carolina, I'd like to know where the campaign is now from your perspective, and what is it you want to make happen here in Michigan?
Well, right now, as the piece that you just played alluded to, that Dr. Paul is definitely focusing on the states where he can attain as many delegates as possible, the caucus states and the states where the delegates are awarded proportionately. So in Michigan, we have a situation where it's winner take all by congressional district. So that means, let's say, I live in District 13 here in Detroit. If he wins the district, he gets 3 delegates. And so that's what we're hoping for here in Michigan, is that we can pick up districts, and we feel pretty good about a good many of them. And so in other states right now, I think he's focusing next on Nevada, because that's definitely a caucus state, and essentially supporters of Dr. Paul have taken over that party over there, and we're looking really good over there. So that's our next goal for the next couple of states.
Now, the primary takes place here in Michigan the end of February, toward February's end. What I'd like you to do for a moment here is walk us through this process regarding the caucus piece and the other one, so that our listeners will be very clear about the caucus.
Okay, well, here in Michigan, we're a primary state now. Paul supporters got involved in the state party back in 2008 after the last time that Dr. Paul ran, and we wanted to have a bigger influence in party politics. And so we did that, and we learned many things, some good, some not so good. But this time around, we vied for a caucus here in Michigan, because the Democrat Party already knows who they're going to choose for their president, and there's no reason for them to go out and spend money or charge money to the taxpayer to charging the taxpayer in Michigan $10 million for this so-called closed primary, which it's not. Anybody in Michigan can vote in the Republican primary in the state. That's very important for your listeners to know. They simply have to go in on Election Day and ask for a Republican ballot, and that's it. They don't have to give their phone number, their email, none of that. All they have to do is go in and ask for a ballot. But they must be registered by January 27th. So that's also important to know. So if you haven't registered, please go do so at the Secretary of State's office.
Got to be registered by this Friday.
You got it.
Got to be registered by this Friday.
Yeah, and so that's what we're asking for. We're asking for folks who, essentially, you're paying for this primary. You might as well go participate in it. And so, we feel like Dr. Paul's message appeals to everybody. I mean, the message of freedom unites everybody. And so, please do participate, and please consider support for Dr. Paul.
Now, this election, this is very important for Michiganians to process, and that is that this election this primary is costing the state of Michigan $10 million. $10 million. If you are a registered voter, as David just shared with us, you can go into your election headquarters, ask for a Republican ballot. It does not mean you're a Republican all the days of your life. Let's just be clear on that. Because there are some folk who want to get involved in this process, and they say, well, I'm not a Republican. You don't have to be a Republican. You have to be a registered voter. And you go in and you ask for the Republican ballot, and then you vote for Ron Paul or whomever. Now, I'm curious as to how aggressive the Ron Paul campaign is going to be here in Michigan in getting his message out.
Well, if you go on ronpaul2012.com/Michigan, you will see on the front page, you will see meetings going on in many cities in Michigan, sometimes 5 to 10 a day. And so we have regional coordinators all over the state. We have volunteers all over the state. We have webinars every week, and they're filled up. They're sold out every week. So we are very active. And see, the crucial part in a campaign is a strong ground game. It means you've got boots on the ground. You're knocking on doors. You're talking to people. You're spreading the message, because the best way to get a vote for your candidate is face-to-face, is to look at your neighbor, and it's to ask for that vote. And my complaint with other candidates are they get these big donations from the big bankers, but they don't have much of a ground game. And because they don't get much of a challenge from a true grassroots candidate, generally they'll win. It usually is a money game. But see, with Dr. Paul, while he raises on an average donation $25 a person, and he might get a few $1 million, that few $1 million is like $20 million when you have volunteers like myself working for nothing. And I shouldn't say working for nothing. We're working for something here, but our country and our freedom. But we go out on the ground, and that's just as good as money. So definitely Michigan has the ground game. We've been organized since June of last year, and we are going strong, and we're getting stronger every day. So we feel very good about where we are right now. And I live in Detroit, and right downtown the city, and I really feel confident that we can get Detroiters to get out there, because, they see what's going on too, just like anybody else in the country, and they're fed up, and we're hit hard here in Detroit. So, the lip service is done. We're tired of hearing the lip service. We need some people that can get out there and truly lead us and help us to grow and prosper.
David, what is it about Ron Paul that is energizing the young voter base?
The message of freedom. That's in a nutshell. That's what they want to hear. They do not want to go through life thinking that they are going to be having to be saddled with a huge debt and, government intrusion in their lives. They don't like these unconstitutional, undeclared, endless wars. The prospect of being, sent to a foreign land to nation build and to tax, and it hits the middle class and the poor the hardest. And so Dr. Paul advocates a return to sound money. It means money that is representative of production and not something that's just merely printed. And it's a moral issue. When you print money like this, it's dishonest. And so I would even argue that it's biblical.
David, the Ron Paul Detroit area campaign had an event yesterday. Is there anything coming up in the very near future?
We sure do. We're going to have another event in 2 weeks. We had it yesterday at the Town Pump Tavern downtown behind the Fox Theater, and that seemed to work out very well. So 2 weeks from yesterday, I think that's February the 4th, we're going to have another meetup, and that'll be 1 p.m. at the Town Pump Tavern, and we are going to show folks how to go out with a walking list and talk to their neighbors, because what we're asking people to do is to win their backyards. Nobody knows your backyard better than you do. And so, go out there, knock on doors, talk to your neighbor, and encourage them to go out and vote for the real man that will represent Michigan, versus the status quo candidates, and that's Ron Paul.
All right, David Dudenhofer, we'll be checking in with you, and thanks so much for sharing with us this morning. People, as David just shared with us, Friday, you must be registered by this Friday to be able to vote next month, and all you have to do is go in as a registered voter, and you can ask for your Republican ballot, and then do what needs to be done. Thank you so much, David. I'll be in touch.
Thanks, Ms. Gaddis. Ms. Gaddis, can I make a quick shout-out?
Yeah, yes.
To thedailypaul.com. It's a great website, so thank you so much for your time.
Okay, it's thedailypaul.com.
.com.
Got it.
It's a blog site. Thank you.
Okay, take care.